So, good evening, everybody. So, today I'll lead you through poultry and we shall look at the introductory part to poultry. So, poultry is a general term that is used to describe different species of domesticated birds. And these may include chicken, turkeys, ducks, pigeon, and geese. Uh, I'll also lead you through the importance of poultry, of what purpose are these poultry animals in our home setting. One, we say it is a source of food, that is meat and eggs. So meat and eggs are sources of proteins to the human body. Number two, we talk about a source of income. For instance, if at all a farmer is having a large stock of poultry birds, he can sell and as well get some money. Three, it provides employment, and this employment may be direct or indirect. Direct in this case, I mean a farmer may employ himself or herself, and indirectly, it may offer some opportunities for those people who are selling drugs and some other vaccines. Here we can talk about for cultural practices, and culture simply means a way of life. So there are some occasions in a real life situation where birds are slaughtered for the purposes of libation and other important aspects. And next, we can talk about provision of raw materials for industries. So birds have got some feathers, and these feathers are used in textile industries for the purposes of manufacturing cloth. And lastly, we can talk about provision of market for industrial goods, and this is what I talked about in my earlier presentation, that some drugs and vaccines are purchased by farmers who are having poultry birds in their homestead. Um, I'd also like us to talk about some terms that are used to describe chicken of different age and sex. And the first one, we are going to look at a chick. A chick is a newly hatched bird from 1 to 8 weeks. Number two, we shall talk about a pullet. And a pullet, this is a young female bird from 8 weeks to the laying period. Three, we shall talk about a cockerel, and this is a young male bird from 8 weeks to maturity. Our next term is a cock, which is also referred to as a rooster, and this is an adult male bird. And next is a hen, and a hen simply means a female bird. And lastly, we can talk about a capon, and a capon can best be defined as a male bird that has been rendered sterile. Or in other words, we can say a male bird that has been castrated. Our next part or our next subheading, we shall talk about the breeds of poultry. And poultry breeds are categorized into two main groups. That is, one, the heavy breeds, and two, the light breeds. Examples of the heavy breeds include the Rhode Island, the Sussex, the red Australorps, and the black Australorps. And some good examples of the light breeds include the Leghorns, the Ancona, and then the Minorca. I would like us to talk about the incubation of eggs. What do we understand by this term incubation? Incubation is the embryonic development of a fertilized egg into a chick. Now, for this incubation process to be effective, there must be correct conditions that should be provided for a chick to be ultimately hatched from an egg. So this incubation period takes approximately 21 days in chicken and 28 days in turkeys and other birds like the ducks. What are some of the methods of incubation? Incubation can be achieved through two main methods. That is, one, the natural incubation, and two, the artificial incubation. Natural incubation entails the bird or the mother bird being allowed to sit on the eggs in the nest after laying. That is to mean the bird is given the responsibility to take care of the eggs by itself. Then artificial incubation is a state in which there is an emulation or copying and the improvement of natural conditions of hatching eggs by use of an equipment called an incubator. What are the some of the conditions that are necessary for artificial incubation? One, we must provide correct temperatures. Number two, we must ensure that there is proper ventilation. Ventilation entails the easy circulation of air in and out of the incubator. Three, we can talk about the relative humidity. This is the appropriate moisture that is going to favor the incubation process. And lastly, there must be somebody or a manpower that should be employed to deal with egg turning. Egg turning ensures that the egg does not lie on one side that may lead to a blockage of air circulation in and out of the embryo. Um, After the incubation, our immediate stage is brooding. So I would like us to remind ourselves about brooding. Brooding simply means the practice of rearing the hatched chicks. Remember, we said that for the incubation process to be successful, the egg must develop fully into a chick, and this chick must get out of the egg successfully without being forced mechanically or by other exertion of some forces which may force the termination of the embryonic development. Then brooding, just like incubation, is also categorized into two. That is either natural brooding or artificial brooding. So artificial brooding entails keeping the chicks in structures called a brooder, where food and other requirements for growth are provided. Then in natural brooding, the hen is allowed to stay with and provide warmth with other requirements for the growth of these chicks. So little human efforts is employed to ensure that these chicks are hatched to maturity. Now let's remind ourselves about the requirements for an artificial brooder. One, there must be litter. Litter, this simply means the bedding of these birds. And in most cases, we recommend wood shavings because some farmers may use sawdust. And when this sawdust, maybe there is lack of food inside this brooder, the birds may start feeding on the sawdust. Two, there must be ventilation. Just the way we talked about it in incubation, there must be a free circulation of air in and outside of the brooder for the chicks to survive. Then three, we must have the heat source. So the heat source, you must provide those sources that will bring warmth inside the brooder. And some of the sources of this heat include the charcoal burner, electric bulbs, lantern gas, and the gas burners. Three, we should talk about heat regulation, and heat should be regulated from 35 degrees, 29 degrees, 26 degrees, and completely withdrawn on the fourth week. So you should also provide some feeders and waterers to ensure that the birds are getting sufficient water and feed inside the brooder. Now, having acquired all the necessary knowledge as far as the introduction of poultry is concerned, we wish to memorize our main objectives as we started the lesson. That we are supposed to know the types, what is meant by incubation and the methods of incubation. We should also know brooding in terms of definition and the methods that are used to brood. We also learned about the terms that are used to describe the birds of different age and sex. May I pose a question to my class if at all somebody has understood the concepts that you've been talking about? And if there is any other concern, or rather any other question, I beg to listen. Any question? There being no any question, wish to stop from there and maybe meet next time. Thank you.